Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're looking past the mainstream headlines to uncover the massive structural shifts happening in retail right now. Look, if you've been following e-commerce, you know there's been a seismic event recently. But the real story, the one that actually impacts operators, brands, and third-party sellers, is completely hidden beneath the surface. We're going to break it all down step by step using the latest financial filings and expert analysis so you can see exactly where the market is heading. So, you've likely seen this quote or something very similar plastered across the business press recently. Amazon just overtook Walmart in annual revenue for the first time. The headlines are calling it a historic shift. And yes, it is a historic milestone, for sure. The mainstream financial media is absolutely cheering this on. But as we often find, the accepted public narrative is entirely missing the deeper, much more important story going on beneath the surface. I actually want to pause right here and ask a crucial question. Amazon just beat Walmart in revenue, but who is really paying for it? We need to shift our perspective completely away from the corporate cheerleading and look at this through the lens of third-party e-commerce sellers. You know, the very people who populate these platforms with the products we buy every single day.
Section 1. Who funds Amazon's growth? Unpacking the revenue milestone.
There is a really stark contrast here between perception and reality. The common perception is that this milestone is coming from a rising tide of happy sellers, simply moving millions more units. But reality, according to recent analysis by e-commerce strategist Robert Hugh, shows what actually drives the growth. The heavy lifting isn't being done by organic product sales. It's being driven by AWS, their cloud computing division, and massive pay-to-play advertising. In fact, Amazon's advertising business alone is now generating tens of billions of dollars annually. And that leads us to an inescapable conclusion. Amazon is increasingly making money from sellers, not with them. I mean, think about it. When a platform's fastest-growing revenue lines are cloud infrastructure and pay-to-play ad placements, it tells you exactly where seller interests sit in the priority stack. As the analysis points out, the marketplace has essentially become a distribution channel. The real money is being made elsewhere, mostly by extracting value directly from the merchants who are just trying to compete. Okay, moving to Section 2, the e-commerce seller's squeeze. More buyers, thinner margins.
Let's break down the friction points directly sourced from recent market research. First step, rising ad costs. Basically, more sellers are competing for the exact same placements. Next, sponsored placements replacing organic. Category pages that used to convert organically now absolutely require paid visibility. Then, we have seller support not scaling. The infrastructure just hasn't grown with the company's ambitions, meaning when things break, it takes a lot longer to fix. And finally, higher costs for the exact same volume. Brands doing $100,000 to $2 million on Amazon are consistently finding that it costs significantly more to generate the exact same sales volume than it did just 2 years ago.
So, the crucial point is this equation right here. A bigger customer base plus thinner margins for sellers equals a squeeze. The headline that Amazon is getting bigger doesn't automatically mean things are getting better for the merchants operating on the platform. In fact, for a lot of them, the cost of doing business is actively eroding their profitability. Let's get into Section 3, Walmart's marketplace counterattack, building for sellers. To really understand this, we have to look at primary evidence. Walmart's recent 2026 Form 10K annual report reveals a massive strategic shift in exactly where they are placing their capital investments. And this isn't just marketing speak, guys. These are their official financial disclosures to the SEC. $150.4 billion. That represents Walmart's global e-commerce sales for the fiscal year 2026. This proves they are no longer just a brick-and-mortar giant trying to figure out the internet. They are a colossal digital player in their own right, and they are moving incredibly fast. And this brilliantly illustrates the real momentum happening behind the scenes. E-commerce sales surged by an astonishing 46%. Advertising grew by 15.5%, and overall operating income rose 1.6%. That 46% surge in e-commerce is a direct result of Walmart aggressively building out their fulfillment network and seller tools. They aren't just extracting from the marketplace, they're actively investing in its infrastructure to make it a better place for third-party sellers to do business.
In this report, President and CEO John Furner emphasizes that we are at a pivotal moment as artificial intelligence fundamentally reshapes how customers shop and how associates work. by pairing this AI-driven, omni-channel vision with their recent hire of a new dedicated e-commerce CEO, who is actually a former Amazon executive, by the way. Walmart is sending a very, very clear signal to the market.
So we have two fundamentally different bets emerging side by side. On one side, Amazon's strategy is building for Amazon. They are heavily focused on scaling AWS and monetizing their massive scale through pay-to-play ads. On the other side, Walmart's strategy is building for sellers. They are scaling their marketplace, investing in lower competition, offering active seller support, and building out omnichannel tools. It is abundantly clear that these are two distinct approaches to the e-commerce ecosystem in 2026. Section 4. Your 90-day seller playbook. Actionable diversification strategies. Based on the expert analysis from Robert Hu, here is a snappy, 4-step action plan to strategically diversify your marketplace mix. Step 1. Audit your ad spend versus organic revenue. Step 2. Get your listings on Walmart.com immediately, because the early advantage always goes to brands who move before the category gets too crowded. Step 3. Run the real numbers and compare your true margins. That's fulfillment by Amazon versus Walmart's fees. And Step 4. Treat your direct-to-consumer channel as insurance, not just an afterthought. I really want to emphasize this crucial metric regarding that first step, the ad spend ceiling. Basically, if you spend more than 20% of your revenue on ads just to maintain your current position, you are funding the platform's growth over your own. Dependence on any single marketplace is a structural risk to a brand, and as the data shows, a top-line revenue milestone for a platform does not automatically make that risk smaller for the seller. Which leaves us with this final thought-provoking question. Look at your own numbers and ask yourself, are you building your business or are you just funding Amazon's? It's a critical question for anyone looking to rethink their 2026 growth strategy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep diversifying, and I will see you in the next explainer.